Now that The White Lotus's first season has come to an end, fans can't wait for what's next. And with HBO announcing a second season, there's already some theories as to what will happen. Here are the White Lotus Season 2 theories and fan speculations. How did the first season end? Spoiler warning, the following is a detailed discussion of the banger that was The White Lotus's finale. After tons of theories and wild guesses, everyone finally found out how the first season was to end. The hotel manager, Armond, was the one who was going to die after all. It wasn't one of the guests, and it most definitely wasn't one of the irritating teenage girls. It was Armond, and the way he died was also rather dramatic. An accident on the part of one of the guests was what took Armond down. But it wasn't only Armond's death that took everyone by surprise, even if the other things weren't as surprising. We got to know that Tanya disappointed Belinda, what news Shane and Rachel's marriage had taken, and how this one character turned their life around completely after spending some time at the beach. Let's take a look at how Armond ended up dying, as that's the juiciest part of the entire season. Prior to the last episode, people might have expected that anything that would happen to Armond would be because of his nemesis Shane. However, that wasn't quite it, and yet it was. So, when Shane found out that Armond was doing some very questionable things with an employee, he had plenty of dirt on him to get his way. He took advantage of this info to get around Armond to fill his every wish. But who knew that Armond was close to his departure from the show? This, coupled with the fact that Paula, like a complete idiot, got Kai, her lover, to mug the Mossbatchers. This meant one of Armond's employees was involved in a crime with him knowing that. This all hinted that something bad was probably coming for Armond. After doing drugs and getting very high before his last dinner as a hotel's manager, Armond decided to take out all his frustration with Shane once and for all. He gets into Shane's pineapple suit and poops inside Shane's luggage. But what Armond didn't plan was how to face Shane after he unexpectedly came back to his suite. Upon Shane realizing that someone was in his suite, he takes a hold of the pineapple knife. Shane expects the person inside to be the same robber that attacked the Mossbatchers. Armond and Shane have a thrilling face-off, after which Armond gets hit by the knife in Shane's hand. So the accidental murder of Armond would not have happened if Armond didn't have this much hatred for Shane that he absolutely needed to intrude in his suite and do what he did. That was also the reason Shane was shown to be so upset at the start of the season. That and Shane thought that he and Rachel were practically over as a couple. Another super surprising part of White Lotus's ending had to do with Rachel and Shane as a couple. The two unexpectedly joined each other at the airport in one of the final episode's last scenes. A tearful Rachel expresses her love for her husband and assures him that he's the man for her, and she'll forever be happy with him. This was a total shock, as literally everything else throughout the season made everyone think that they just weren't going to work out. In fact, at the start of the last episode, Rachel announces to Shane that it was a mistake marrying him. She leaves Shane to live inside another room and thinks about her failing marriage. However, when a completely torn Rachel asks Belinda for her advice, the spa director simply refuses. After her incident with Tanya, who agreed to help finance Belinda's passion for running her own business, Belinda says she doesn't have any advice to offer Rachel. This leaves Rachel completely on her own, without any help from others to follow her own will and to come to terms with her choices. It wasn't clear how Rachel learned about Armond's death at the hands of Shane, but her coming to the airport obviously meant that she no longer wanted to follow her passion, but instead become a good wife to Shane. There's a disturbing theory that Rachel had seen Shane's actions as a hint that she was the one responsible for his fulfillment now, and she had to do everything to keep him happy. In other news, Tanya and her new lover Greg decided to spend as much time together as they could. Given Greg's health issues, that meant that he was close to death. It's been assumed that it was something to do with his lungs and probably not COVID. They agree to go to Aspen to spend their days together to the fullest, and this leaves Belinda abandoned in rough circumstances. Olivia ends up confronting Paula about her role in the Mossbatcher robbery and ultimately comforts her, strengthening their friendship even further. But what was Paula so upset for? That was thanks to the cops' confrontation of Kai and returning of the jewelry he stole from the Mossbatchers. The robbery also ended up bringing Mark and Nicole closer. The two also had a better ending than how they started out in the show. Totally, except for that tiny twist at the end. After fitting in with Hawaiian locals, Fred ends up leaving his family behind to join them for good. His decision also came as a major surprise to people. He tells his parents he likes being in Hawaii better and doesn't want to return home. He explains how he wants to complete school remotely from Hawaii and stay next to his new friends as they visit the islands of Fiji. From all the characters in the show, Quinn seemed to have changed for the better the most. He seemed to have grown out of his toxic traits and stopped associating with toxic people. 3 cheers for Quinn. What will season 2 bring with it? You might not know this, but the second season of The White Lotus won't be a follow-up to the first one, but will start completely anew. It's still not announcing when the second season will be released, but in the meantime, there's a lot of excitement as to what it will bring. The date of the release for the new season could be announced by the end of this year. It's expected that the new season will see some major changes as far as the cast and the plot are concerned. The cast is also a mystery as of now, as everyone's looking for clues. Could it be the franchise will bring aboard a major Hollywood actor or actress for the new season? This seems reasonable given the amount of hype the first season has received. We could see a familiar face really soon. In a press release, HBO Programming's Vice President Francesca Orsi said, "Mike White has once again delivered a quintessential HBO show, and it's the talk of the town. We were thrilled to hear where we wanted to go next after closing this epic chapter in Hawaii, and can't wait to keep following him wherever he takes us." Though the show will be back soon, the story, actors, and most importantly, the Hawaii location might not return. The anthology style will be continued in the new season. New travelers will be seen arriving at the new White Lotus site to cause chaos any way they can. HBO has announced the next chapter of The White Lotus leaves Hawaii behind and follows a different group of vacationers as they jet to another White Lotus property and settle in temporarily amongst its inhabitants. Even though the actors will mainly be new, you can expect to see some of the season 1's faces in the upcoming season. Mike White, the genius behind the show, told IndieWire, "I don't think you can credibly have all the season 1 guests on the same vacation again, but maybe it can be a Marvel Universe type thing, where some of them would come back. We only made 1-year deals with the actors, so we'd have to find out who is even available." This season's cast included Connie Britton, Jennifer Coolidge, Steve Zahn, Murray Bartlett, Alexandra Daddario, Molly Shannon, Jake Lacy, Natasha Rothwell, and Sydney Sweeney. These are already some pretty big names of the industry, so it remains to be seen whether the new cast will be an upgrade or a downgrade. White has already told us what kind of chances the same cast appearing on the new season has, and they seem to be thin. So it's truly exciting what the new season could bring. Though no one could pull a trigger on the new possible location, there have been some suggestions from White that have fans speculating. Mike White told Entertainment Weekly how the new season could be anything from Saint-Tropez to Kyoto. He also said that would be an interesting prospect, as the show could then address difficulties in cultures. The new hotel's different setting will make for a refreshing season. We'll see new backgrounds and colors that could take the show to the next level. The new season was recently confirmed by HBO, so it could take some time before it's finally out. You can find the released episodes on HBO Max. That was a wrap for today's video. Thanks for watching.